Hi everybody, this is Mr. LaFont. So I wanted to create this video for you to walk you through some work with parabolas. This one's going to be a little bit longer than the others, mainly because the Khan Academy video doesn't match up exactly with what we're doing in the text. It gives a good overall description, but I wanted to focus a little bit more on the homework problems. So we've seen parabolas before. But now we're going to look at a couple extra things. We're going to look at, well, the concept of the focus and the directrix, okay? So another way to define a parabola, and we've seen these before, that's those U-shaped curves. They can open up, they can open down as well. But today we're going to be also looking at ones that open right on over here, and they could also theoretically open to the left as well. And we're only going to be looking at parabolas that are centered at the origin, right at 0, 0 there. So another definition for a parabola is essentially it's the set of all points in a plane that are the same distance from a fixed line, which we're calling the directrix here, and a fixed point not on the line, and that's the focus. Okay, so the focus and the directrix are kind of like, you can think of them as like a guide point and a guideline for a parabola. It has some physics applications. We're not going to get into that too much. But basically, if you're designing a headlight or something like that, the rays of light bounce around on the inside. Well, they're all going to be going through the focus. Okay, and that's why it's called the focus. Okay, it's all hitting right angles within the parabola itself. And so again, we have two types of parabolas. We have the vertical and we have the horizontal. The vertical we've worked with before. Okay, and here's the equation we're working with in this section. So again, we're focusing on centering at the origin here. The basic equation is y is equal to 1 over 4c x squared. Okay, the c is important because it defines the focus and the directrix. The focus for vertical parabolas is always going to be 0c. The directrix is always going to be y equals negative c. Horizontal ones are very similar. Now, with horizontal ones, though, you don't have an x squared. You have a y squared. So it's always x equals y squared, basically, right? And you have some other 1 over 4c term as the constant in front, the coefficient there. And again, the focus now, instead of 0c, is now c0, right? At some point right here on the x-axis. And the directrix now is x equals negative c. So notice it's a vertical line here, where it was a horizontal line for the vertical parabolas. So let's look at some problems, so we can see how this works. So these are some of the homework problems right here. So let's first look at 7 and 8. So 7 and 8 ask you to write an equation of the parabola with the vertex at the origin and the given focus. So here we have a focus at 6, 0. So if we look over at those equations on the left, okay, I'm noticing that the number is in the x position, not the y position. And so, well, if I look over to the left there, look at my equation, the C0, well, that means it's got to be horizontal parabola, right? Because the number is in the x position. Okay, it's like this pattern right here. Okay, it would be a vertical if this had a number, right? So we'll look at number 8 in a second, which is the other case. So since this is a horizontal parabola, I know this right here, right, is my equation for my focus. So, well, easy enough. that means C is equal to 6. Okay? So, to write the equation, I just have to write it out now. So, let's see here. So again, remember the equation for horizontal parabolas, x is equal to 1 over 4c y squared. All you have to do is plug in the c. It's that easy. So 4 times 6 is 24. So it's 1 over 24 y squared. That easy. Okay? Let's look at this other one, number 8 right now. So this one, look where there is the non-zero. Okay? So this one, the non-zero is in the y position. Well, that means it's going to be a vertical parabola because we're in this pattern right here. It's a 0C pattern, which means it's vertical. Okay, which also means that our C is -4. So now we just have to look up our equation. So it's y is equal to 1 over 4c x squared. All you have to do again, plug in c. It's that easy. So it's negative in this case. 1 over 16, 4 times 4 is 16, with a negative, x squared. That's y equals. Okay? So now let's look at some slightly more complicated problems. 13 and 14 here. Okay. So 13 and 14. So we want to identify the vertex, focus, directrix of the parabola with the given equation, then sketch. Okay. So looking at 13 and 14. So both of these, because they're very simple, you're not adding or subtracting anything, the origin on both of these is just going to be at 0, 0. And we're going to only, for the test, we're only going to be working with that. So origin on both of these, 0, 0. Zero, zero. Okay. All right. So now we have to find the next thing you should do to find the focus and directrix is you need to figure out what C is and identify, well, is it horizontal or vertical? Well, let's look at our equation here. We see it's y equals x squared type of a pattern. Well, that's definitely, if the x is squared, that's going to be a vertical parabola. So it is a vertical. Okay, so if we remember that equation, again, it's y is equal 1 over 4c x squared. So looking at this, that means that 4 has to be the same thing as 1 over 4c. And I can solve for c doing that. So I know that 1 over 4c is equal to 4. I'm just going to multiply both sides by 4c. So I know 16c is equal to 1. So my c is equal to 1 over 16. Okay. All right. Now that I got C, now I can just write out my focus and directrix. So my focus here, again, it's got to be a vertical one. So looking at my equations, those are going to be, we see vertical ones are 0C, 0C. So 0C, so my focus is going to be 0, 1 over 16. Okay, so directrix, looking again at my equations, directrix for a vertical is y is equal to -c. So y is going to be equal to -1/16. Okay, now sketching this guy out, what does it look like? Let's see. So basically for the sketch, all I want you to do is draw a basic parabola shape, opening up in the right direction. This is a vertical one that's going to be opening up. So there's parabola, x, y. So we know it's opening up. It's y equals x squared. It's not negative. Okay, and I'm just going to pop in my focus and directrix. There's my focus. I'm just going to make sure you label it, please. There's my directrix. And then, so that point right there is 0, 1/16. That's my focus. And my directrix down here is y is equal to negative 1/16. Okay, so let's look at number 16 now. Okay, x is equal to 1/2 y squared. Okay, so notice the y is squared. Okay, so this one is going to be opening to the right. Okay, if it's positive, it's opening to the right. If it's negative, it would be opening to the left. It's definitely horizontal. So, again, it's going to be a horizontal equation. Horizontal. And so that's going to be this type of pattern right here, 1/4c y squared. And I just have to find c now. Well, with this one, I know that, let's see, 1/4c is now equal to 1/2. Okay, let me think about this. So that means, on this one right here, 4c is equal to 2. So c is equal to 1/2. Great. Okay. So now I'm going to get my number that I have c. I can get my focus and directrix. So my focus, since this is a horizontal one, again looking at the equations, for horizontal, C0. C0. So that's going to be 1/2 0. Directrix is going to be x is equal to negative c. Oops, go back that up. To negative c. So I'm going to get x is equal to negative c. So x is going to equal negative 1/2. So drawing this guy out, what's that going to look like? Again, it's opening right. So it's going to be looking kind of like that. There's y, there's x. So opening to the right, it'll look like this. Something like that. And then there's my focus, and there's my directrix. Okay, and I'm just going to label them up. So it would be it's a 1/2 0. And that's x is equal to negative 1/2. Okay. Now, hypothetically, let's say that this equation was instead x is equal to negative 1/2 y squared. Well, what would change? Basically, it would just be a mere opposite. Okay. So if I'm drawing this other one, what that one would look like, and I'll do a very quick sketch here. So with this one, it was a little messy. With this one, we're going to be opening to the left, still at the origin. Opening to the left. Right, kind of like that. And now my focus would be over here. My directrix would be over here. And the signs would just basically flip. So now that would be a negative 1/2 0 for my focus. And my directrix would be x is equal to 1/2 positive, right? Instead of the other one over here, where it was x is equal to a negative 1/2. Okay. So, moving on. So there's the basic idea right there. Okay. Be able to find the focus and the directrix, sketch a quick graph. A couple other quick problems here, and these are a little bit easier, like 17 and 18. 17 and 18 say, write an equation of a parabola with a vertex at the origin and the given directrix. Okay, these are pretty easy. So if you have a directrix of x is equal to -3, well, okay. I know that if I look at my equations again, this is going to be a horizontal one. And I know that, well, that is going to be equal to -c. Okay, so my c is 3. It's easy. And I know my basic equation is going to be, since it's a horizontal one, it's going to be x is equal to 1/4c y squared. And again, I just have to plug in. Pretty easy. So that'll be 1/12 y squared. And quickly, let's do the other one. Directrix, y equals 5. Okay, so again, that's going to be equal to -c. c is equal to -5. Now this one, though, directrix is y is equal to something. And so with this one, in that case, I know it's going to be vertical. And with the vertical equation, I'm just going to write it out. Y is equal to 1/4c x squared, and plug in the c. Okay, so it's going to be -1/4 times 5 is 20 x squared. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so a little bit longer than usual, but I wanted to give you this so you could get extra help on your homework, okay? And we'll be able to talk about this more in our online review session coming up later on this week. All right, thanks a lot, guys. I'll talk to you later.